Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to be going over the 16 books that I read in August. We're going to be starting from the beginning of the month to the end, so in like chronological order in which I read them. So let's just get started. The first book I read this month was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling. I have a Harry Potter reading vlog up on my channel if you want to see my more extensive thoughts on this book, but I loved this. I was already anticipating it would be my favorite in the series, and it was 5 stars. Predictably, the next book I read this month was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. This book was exceptional. It was much better than I thought it would be. I loved it. 5 stars. The next book I read was The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. I did not love this. I thought the premise was interesting, albeit a little odd, because this book is about Cassie, who goes to nanny for Aiden, and Cassie used to be on OnlyFans, and she doesn't know it, but Aiden used to be her top subscriber or fan or whatever you want to call it. And I liked the whole single dad thing. I just, like, it was eh. And then I really didn't enjoy how the resolution was brought about. It rubbed me the wrong way a lot. Like, 3 stars? The next book I read was the 4th book in the Never After series by Emily McIntyre, which is Twisted. This is a fractured fairy tale based on Aladdin. It was so good. I love these books by Emily McIntyre. I just love when the villain gets the girl. Or not an actual villain, but someone who's perceived as a villain gets the girl. Like the ACOTAR series, the Shatter Me series. Just like, I love that kind of stuff. And this book was no exception. This book was really good. I ended up rating it 4.5 stars. I loved it. It was really, really good. I would highly recommend this series to anyone who likes dark romance and is a big Disney fan, because these are very interesting ways to alter the story, and it's really good. The next book I read was Crossed, again by Emily McIntyre. This is the 5th book in the Never After series. It was recently released at the beginning of this month. This is a Hunchback of Notre Dame fractured fairy tale. So the romance is between Father Cade and Amaya, who is Esmeralda, but Esmeralda is actually her stage name when she works at a strip club. And I thought it was really interesting, a really interesting retelling of the story. I didn't love Father Cadric and the way that he was a villain, because it was a little dark for me. Like, he doesn't really have a reason to be doing the things he does. But it was still good. I'd probably rate it about 3.5 stars. The next book I read was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I read this book because I wanted to read it before the movie came out. And I did. There's a whole reading vlog up of me. It's a weekly reading vlog, but this is the first book I read in the reading vlog. This book was outstanding. I loved it so much. This book is about Alex and Henry. Alex is the first son of the United States, and Henry is the prince of the UK. He's second in line after his brother. So, both in positions of power, kind of, and they do not like each other. They have a rivalry that has been there ever since they first met. And one day they end up making a really big scandal, and so both of their departments are basically like, you need to get along in the press. Like, you need to pretend like what happened was just a fluke and you guys were just messing around and like are best friends basically. And so that's where this book takes off. It was so good. I love the side characters in this book. They're also amazing. Alex's mother. This book is so good. I rated it 5 stars. The movie is also very good, considering it's just good. I would also recommend the movie, but read the book before you watch the movie, always. I read so many good books this month. The next book I read was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This book, oh my god, I was not expecting this to be the slam dunk that it was, but I loved it so much. This book is about Evangeline and Jax, basically. So, Evangeline is desperate to stop who she perceives to be her true love from marrying her sister. But she prays to one of the fates, the Prince of Hearts, Jax, and he ends up taking her bargain. However, he will stop this marriage if she kisses 3 people at his time of choosing. So he can tell her to kiss that person at that time. The story basically just takes off from there, and it's so good. I would highly, highly recommend this book. This book itself was probably 4.5 stars. However, the next book I read was The Ballad of Never After, also by Stephanie Garber. It is the next book in this series, and I read it on my Kindle because I don't want the hardcover, so I'm gonna read it, have it on my Kindle until the paperback eventually comes out next year. That book was also so good. I'll insert the cover here, but that book was amazing. I loved it so much. It was definitely 5 stars. The end had my jaw on the floor. You can see me read both those books in my weekly reading vlog as well, if you're interested in my full thoughts as to that book. But that book was 5 stars. No question about it. That book was 5 stars. I will be reading A Curse for True Love the day it comes out. The next book I read might come as a bit off considering the rest of these books, but in my fall recommendations video, I talked about the book that got me back into reading, and I was like, I actually might reread that this year in order to annotate it properly, because I didn't annotate it when I first read it, when I got back into reading. Anywho, that being said, I read Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, because this is the book that got me back into reading about a year ago now, and it held up. I loved it just as much as I did when I read it last year. I don't think it's 5 stars. I think it's like 4.5 stars for me. And I loved it so much. I always love when we get the male perspective in books. And this book, if you didn't know, is the full first Twilight book, told from completely Edward's point of view. So, naturally, I would enjoy this book more than the actual Twilight. And after I read this, I decided that I wanted to read the full Twilight series, because if I'm gonna read one, I might as well read the rest, because I never actually read the rest. I just read this one. So, the next book I read was New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. This book was so good. I enjoyed all of these books so much. My next reading vlog, it should be coming out in a couple days after this video, but it is the reading vlog where I read all of these, and they were so good. This book is probably 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is the book. I don't want to give the descriptions because it's kind of like a spoiler, because it's the second book in the series. I feel like everyone knows the plot of this book at this point, so I don't know if I should. This book was really good. 4 stars. Predictably, the next book I read was Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. This is the third installment in the Twilight series. This was probably my favorite one in the series, just because of the plot. And this is where you really see, this is the book where you really see the love triangle come into view. And it was hard. I mean, if you watch the reading vlog when it comes out, you will see that I, love Jacob. I know Edward is better for Bella than Jacob is, but I love Jacob, and I want him to be happy, so it was really hard to see him hurt the way he does in this book. It was just really sad, but it was really good. Probably 4.5 stars as well. The next book I read, Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. I really enjoyed this. I speed read this. I read this in 4 hours. I really enjoyed it. I really liked seeing Jacob's point of view. It was a lot more interesting than I thought it would be, because I didn't really want to see Jacob's point of view at the part we got, but I really enjoyed seeing it. I didn't love the ending, but I'm happy everyone got their happy ending. After the conflict resolves, I don't really like how the conflict resolves, but I really like the actual ending of this book and the ending of the series, and I was so happy to see Jacob finally be happy, because I was so annoyed with him getting screwed around on. But I'm happy that I finished the series. It was really good. This one probably gets 4 stars. The next book I read, this book is so good. I read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This book was so good. I loved it. It is about Aurora, who moves back to her small town after 20 years of being away, and the room she rented, or the house she rented, the owner of said house doesn't actually know it's been rented until she gets there. And it turns out it was his son that rented it out to Aurora. And Rhodes is not happy about it at all. But he's like, you can stay for the month, it's fine. Just, she ends up paying triple her rent, actually. But it was so good. I loved it. I loved the son so much. I thought he was such a sweetheart. And this was actually my first Mariana Zapata book. I was kind of nervous to get into it because I know her books are super slow burn. And that is true. Let me find it. Can you see where my finger is? Right here. This is all the time they're together in the book. All of this, they're not together, and it's slow burn. But it was so good. I loved it. I literally loved it so much. I definitely rated it 5 stars. At first I thought it was only 4.5, but considering how much I'm continuously thinking about it, I think it's gonna be 5 stars. The next book I read was actually a DNF. So I guess I only read 15.5 books this month, but it was Confidence of Wildflowers by Michaela Smeltzer. This book, I started to get the ick from this book almost immediately. And that was because this is a romance between a newly 18-year-old and I don't know, I think he's 32, 33. But that in itself grosses me out. It's not the 15-year age difference, it's the fact that she's newly 18. If she were 23 and he were 38, I would have no problem with it. That started to give me the ick. And then this always rubs me the wrong way in books. She has a boyfriend. A serious, committed relationship. This is a PSA. I'm about to spoil some of this book. So I will put in the timestamp of when I stopped ranting about what happened that made me so mad. When they're about to hook up, she still has a boyfriend. And not only that, they're talking about being safe when it comes to that. And she literally mentions her boyfriend while he's about to have sex with her. And, like, it just gave me such an ick that I had to shut the book. It made me so mad. Like, it was so gross. They're they're not talking about a potential hypothetical situation. They are about to have sex. And he's like, I don't have condoms. And she's like, I'm on birth control. And Caleb always wears a condom. And it grossed me out so much. Like, it's not even like you're in the moment, so you're not even thinking about the fact that you're in a relationship. You literally vocalized your boyfriend, and that didn't give you enough of a reason to stop about to cheat on him. It rubbed me the wrong way. Like, he literally says, you feel like mine. And she literally says, I'm his and he is mine. And I'm like, you have a boyfriend. Moving on. DNF. The next book I read, I actually didn't end up reading for days after I DNF'd that book because it put me off so much. The next book I read was Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. This is the last book in the Twisted series. It is about Stella and Christian. She is a tenant in Christian's apartment building, and she is basically an influencer, and she's been stuck at just under 900,000 followers for over a year, and her manager recommends that she finds a fake boyfriend. And so Christian and her enter into a mutually beneficial deal where he will be her fake boyfriend if she attends business events with him that he has to go to, like charity galas, all that kind of stuff. And it just takes off from there. And while all this is happening, her stalker makes a reappearance. Now that she's in a relationship, he is jealous, and so he comes back into the picture. But Christian is the owner of a security company, and it's all very interwoven, and it's really, really good. It was probably 4.5 stars for me. I would highly, highly recommend this book and the whole Twisted series. I'm very happy to have finished it, and I'm excited to get into the Kings of Sin series. The last book is kind of an honorary mention just because I haven't finished it yet. I started it last night. I will probably finish it today, but it is Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. I don't know how I feel about this book yet. I was really nervous about Tate just because how he's perceived in part 1 of this book is atrocious. And it makes me nervous to read this book. Like, I like the story, but there are plot holes with the timeline, and I don't like the amount of references being made in it. But the actual story is good, and I look forward to finishing it. I don't think it'll be 5 stars. Maybe a 4 stars. We'll see. I still have over half of it left. But I just wanted to mention that, because odds are I will finish it in August. Those are all of the 15.5 books I read this month. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified right when I post a new video. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!